What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So this video is addressed to Nick Wrong, all right? I saw his recent post on Twitter, and he talked about how Michael Jordan fans often deviate to what could have beens and if this and if that, if Jordan never retired, if he had focused on three-pointers more, which is what I'm going to focus on. If this hadn't happened, Jordan would have won 8 in a row. This, that, or the other, right? Now, I don't know about all the other things, but I am certain that if Michael Jordan focused on three-point shooting, he could have been one of the best in the league. Now, for his career, he was a 32.7% career three-point shooter. Now, is that a very high percentage? Absolutely not. Is that a high percentage for a guy who was drafted in 1984? I think it's a little bit above average for anybody that was drafted in 1984. I think if you go to any perimeter player who was drafted in 1984 and you look at what they shot for their career from three, I don't think that's particularly bad. Most teams in the 1980s did not focus on three-point attempts. Most players did not focus on three-point attempts. You only had a handful of three-point specialists before Michael Jordan entered the league. Maybe guys like Downtown Freddie Brown, Joey Hassett, Brian Taylor. You didn't have a lot of three-point shooters, specialists. Craig Hodges was entering the league at that time. You didn't have a lot of them. And they didn't shoot a lot. Maybe 1 to 2 attempts per game. The three-point shot was not really a big staple of the NBA in the 1980s. Most of the players that you looked at, except for maybe the ones I just named, you might look and see they shot something like, if you look at the season, the superstar players, you might see that it say something like 13 for 70, 12 for 66, 8 for 53, and you're like, oh man, these guys couldn't shoot at all. Well, if you notice, that's not a lot of attempts for a season. And usually in those scenarios, it was something like, the game was down to the last possession, and everybody on the opposing team knew that Michael or Dominique or Barkley was going to have to shoot a three. And they were double coveraged. And because back then, usually the stars would try to, take the game-winning shot. And they would be doubled, and they would have to take some off-balance, leaning back three-pointer that wasn't really a high percentage shot, or it was a scenario where the ball ended up in their hands as the shot clock was running down and they had to force something up. Low percentage shots. Focusing on Michael Jordan, he did not really start focusing on three-pointers until the 89-90 season. Okay? And even then, he never fell in love with that shot. When he felt like he was relying on it too much, he would stop and then go back more toward what was his bread and butter, which was taking it to the basket, mid-range, and as he got older, playing more in the post. That was his bread and butter. So he never really roamed at the three-point line that much. A little bit more as he got older, but even then, in his last season, because of the finger injury, it was taking something off of his shot from outside. He couldn't really shoot from range because of the injury to his shooting hand, so it was affecting his range. And I think, honestly, he never really seriously recovered from that because the injury to his shooting hand. Because the year after that is when he sliced his finger and tore and ruptured a ligament in his shooting hand, one of his fingers. And when he was with the Washington Wizards, he never could really get a good rhythm from outside afterwards. He was always a subpar three-point shooter afterwards. But in the 90s, whenever he took 2 attempts or more per game in a season, which was 1990, 1993, 95, 96, and 97. In those seasons, combined, Michael Jordan shot 38.5% from beyond the arc. That's pretty elite. 38.5%. It's pretty damn good. All right. Considering Reggie Miller for his career, 39.5. Dennis Scott, 39.9, I believe. Glenn Rice, 40% round the head. Ray Allen, 40%. Chuck Person, 36.2%, I think it was. So that's pretty damn good. In the NBA Finals, Michael Jordan shot around 37% from 3. So what I'm getting at is, had he really worked on that shot and focused on it with his work ethic, I'm pretty sure he could have been an even more elite three-point shooter. He just never took a lot of them. Contrast that to LeBron James, who last year took 8 a game, if I'm not mistaken. 8. You know, Dan Marley, who did not have the physical gifts of Michael Jordan, Dan Marley was an atrocious three-point shooter when he was first drafted. Dan Marley, by 1992, 93, 92 really, was one of the best streak three-point shooters in the NBA. One of the first guys to really shoot from deep, and was one of the most feared three-point shooters in the league. If Dan Marley could figure it out, I'm trying to figure out how guys like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, 2 of the hardest workers and 2 of the most competitive players ever played the game, somehow they can't figure out this three-point conundrum. Like it's just some, some confusing, Da Vinci Code like, complex, puzzle that they can't solve. Makes no sense. But anyway, that's all I had to say about that. Tell me what you guys think.